Hey guys, Road Warrior here. I was asked to start doing some rotation guides or that sort of thing, or beginner tips. So here I go. Without further ado, I'm going to start at Lone Star. Keynote there as you turn around. When you first enter this game, once you've done the tutorial, always come over here and pick up these red worms here. You can do that daily. Also, you can go through here and just note that you did have the red worms. Those are free baits that will help you out early in the game. And also, I will get into something that was important to me that I didn't know when I was trying to do the tutorial. If you find yourself if you're starting with this rod and you cannot get this thing to cast, uh, click R3. Big beginner tip. I wish I'd have known when I started. Click R3. You can see that doesn't cast very far, but as soon as you click R3 like a button or your right joystick, now that you can actually cast, this will be a big help to you. Also, a keynote, use your directional pad to change the depth of your float. That's a lot quicker. Just pressing up and down if you want it 27 inches or however deep that you may want that. Now you note there, you can actually cast this thing. I get that question a lot for people that are just now picking the game up. So again, I'll show you some more stuff later on. Also, guys, for just learning, just don't set that too deep. They probably start with like a hook 10 or a small hook. Just kind of go around and farm a few fish like this just to get your feel for what's going on. It doesn't hurt to use both. Now, later on, I'll be using a spinning rod. Okay, also, guys, you're going to end up with one of those little telescopic rods. You're going to want probably 4 pound test on it. Don't try to max drag that, and I'll explain that later on in the video. But basically, just to kind of give you guys a head start for anybody that's just picking up the game. Now here I'm using the first spinning rod they will give you. Keynote as well. If you're on PlayStation, there's a free pack that you can get. I can't think of the name of it, but feel free to search around PlayStation Store and see what kind of free packs and gear that they offer before considering purchasing anything. Okay, now moving on. Here I'm just going to kind of show you basic spoons, that sort of thing. Usually works fairly well and they're fairly cheap. There's several different retrieves that you can try. This area over here is usually fairly good for you kind of want to go for the spotted bass. Now again, you can just cast this out an early tip in the game that you may not otherwise have is, you can hold your rod tip up by hitting L2 and then R2 to reel, and that'll auto hook the fish for you, also known as sky twitching or auto setting. There's various retrieves you can use. You can use a straight retrieve. This one here actually just using a sky twitch. And then I'll kind of explain more of the retrieves as we go along. Okay, also guys, early on I think the couple good lures is the slop spoons, the silver or the gold that you can find in the store at your level. Simply cast out and another retrieve could be, again, you could straight retrieve, just simply don't lift your rod tip up. You can stop and go, as I'm doing here. And I'll pay attention to the bottom right of the screen. You can see that arrow moving up and down. If you click down or up on your directional pad, that actually changes your reel speed. And you kind of want to get control of your lure. So doing that, if you notice I'm going from a 1-click to a 2-click, if you look at the 2 arrows in the center of that circle in the lower right screen. Now I'm trying to keep it off the bottom a little ways, but again, trying to get a few dots. Sometimes the more dots you have, a little bit better presentation. Again, I'm going to sky twitch there, just simply holding the rod tip up, simply just clicking the R2 button as well. Fish on. Also a keynote in this I'll explain later. Okay, there's the first bass. Also on this, now also something that will help you guys out. If this happens to you, now even though you have an unlimited license, you still have to have a license to keep the fish. So to avoid a fine, luckily there I didn't get a fine, but to avoid a fine, make sure that you buy your license. You do need that to keep the bass here at Texas. Even though you have an unlimited license to fish, you cannot keep anything without the penalty. So make sure you do buy your license. Also, note in this clip, I'm just simply doing a straight retrieve, just reel in. You want to kind of be able to control it. That's what that speed down there is for. If you can go up or down on your directional pad, remember. And now as soon as you get a hit, then obviously just set your hook by hitting L2. And there's just a nice crappie off that as well. Now the bass is what's going to pay the bills. Again, focusing on bass, this is this spoon right here cost I think it's 2 bait coins, but it's well worth it. And I'll show you why here in a second. Also, to help you out later on this map, I'm going to show you the Mad Eye Buffalo, the fish monster. You're not to that point yet, but this will come in handy if you need this later on. There's the Mad Eye Buffalo. Also in this area, you'll note that this is a really good area to fish. All through this area, all the way from the left, all the way to the right. Okay, also, now, key note there, if you watch that closely, that went up into the red. And also, you might find yourself where you don't have those 3 fight meters, and I'll explain that to you in a second, and how to set that up, because you're going to start the game and you're probably going to be set where you only have 1 meter. That's important to know, that way when you set up your rod and reel, then you're not getting broke off. Okay, also guys, you'll notice when you're first starting to play this game, you won't have that meters there. You see if I have 3 meters, the first on the left represents your line, the one in the middle is your rod, and the one on the right obviously is your reel by the icons there. Now you won't have that unless you go to the setting. I'll show you that in a second why that's important. Now right there we can tell our line's the weakest link. In other words, if I was to click that, and also a side note is on your directional pad, up and down would change your reel speed. Now left and right changes your drag. So left will decrease, right will increase, or vice versa. But make sure that you kind of know that. As you can see, all those meters are not filled up because I'm not able to actually max that reel out without breaking the line. And now you want this on the pro setting, that way that you know what's the weakest. So to kind of help you out early in the game until you can set up your gear properly, make sure that you're paying attention to that. So again, your directional pad, left or right, changes that on there, and also gives you a little more power to pull the fish in. Now once I get this in, I'll go through and kind of show you how to set that up. And this might be a long-winded video, but for somebody that's never played the game, this should definitely help you, because I wish I'd have known all this right when I first started. So what you want to do is go all the way over to settings on the pause menu. Go to your game settings. Now if you look down towards the bottom where it says simple and pro on your tackle load indicator, see it's going to start on simple, right? Or it's going to start on simple. This is what simple is going to look like. To the right is pro. See, that's just 1 meter. Just a key note there. So if you want that on the other one, simply go to settings and put it on pro. See, now this is where it would mess you up. You don't know exactly what's going to happen because all 3 of those are combined. Rod, reel, and line are all combined on 1 meter. So you want to be able to separate those out. Okay, so also a key note on here. I'll show you how to set that back on extended so you know. But basically that lure does really good for you. Now you can use the gold spoon and stuff to start, but the casting spoons work really well. If you can get the 1.0 first, or even the slop spoon, until you can get this lure here, this lure does really good. Now key note, the fish net is full right now. You're going to start with like an 8-pound net. So what you kind of want to do in this situation, release one of your fish, hit triangle, then go down and hit square. So it makes sense to release the $18 fish because I'm gaining $130 right there just by keeping that bass. So even though my net's only 8 pounds, I've got 10.5 pounds of fish in it. So then basically, if you didn't know as well, you know how to cash in your keep net, you're going to want to go here. Now look at the next weather day. Okay, now you don't want to just go to the night peak because your net's full. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to go to day 2. It looks like a good peak. What you're going to want to do simply is to hit square, go over with your directional pad, go to the next morning. As soon as you hit X and advance to the next day, and it costs $0 to go to the next day. See, costs 0. As soon as you hit X to extend the day, That's going to give you your cash out. So you've cashed out $783. And I'm going to explain keep nets and stuff here in a bit. Also, again, just to make sure if I didn't speed too fast through that, set that on Pro, hit X. As soon as you hit square, now you're on the Pro setting and you can actually see your different fight meters. Okay, guys, again, with the lure I was looking at. Now, once you're level 5, you can get that. In the meantime, you can try to find a few of these other spoons that will work. Again, that gold slop spoon here that I'll come up and show you in a second. But this lure right here is phenomenal once you level 5. And for only bait coins, 2 bait coins is not bad. Now, you can go through at level 3 and get some of this other stuff. But again, that's one I would focus in on to help you guys out. Okay, guys, moving on. Something I will say that is really important is to pay attention to your keep nets. And now, obviously, as you rank up, that's going to be one of the most important things, obviously, because you can't, you're not going to make much money until you can get a bigger keep net. So that's one thing I would say kind of hoard your money for, and try to go through. In other words, don't sit and spend a bunch of money on bait or to buy a bunch of different rods and reels, because what good is that going to do? So you kind of need to grind yourself until you can get in position to get some of that. So as you level up, buy the best keep net that you can. Now, once I move on to another lake to help you out, that'll make a lot more sense. But I hope this helped you guys out.